You learn more, you earn more. It is time for another episode of Ask Pat, where Downing-Frye Realty's Director of Corporate Training helps you become more productive, professional, and profitable in your real estate career. Please welcome Pat Patoki and Cindy Woolley.
Dun, dun, dun. What kind of an introduction is that? That's like very fitting for you, Pat.
Well, it certainly is humbling for sure, but we will definitely do our best. That is definitely our goal. Our mission in the corporate training department is to increase the success of our associates. So we're totally committed to that.
Absolutely. Good afternoon, everyone. It is Monday, November 15th, and my name's Cindy Woolley. And I am here with our guru of corporate training, Miss Pat Patoki from Downing-Frye Realty. And we're here to talk about all sorts of topics that are going to help make you a better realtor, make you more profitable, help you build your business. And, everything that we're talking about really applies back into buyers and sellers. So, this is something to elevate the industry as a whole. So thank you for joining us today. And thank you, Pat, for always being a beacon of smiles and helping keep us on track with life.
My pleasure. Smiling makes life doable.
Absolutely. Now, you have some really important projects coming up. It's the end of year training, and I know that realtors need to make sure that they're in touch with their ethics training and end of year business training. Can you tell us a little bit about what's coming up?
Sure, excellent. There are 3 reminders that I really would like to stress for all realtors. Reminder number 1, that by December 31st, 2021, every single realtor, that realtor is a member of NAR, must complete the Ethics and Business Practices module. And we offer that on December 7th, virtually via Zoom from NABOR, registration at nabor.com. If you have not completed that requirement and number 2, sent in your course completion to your board may not know you did complete it and may have you on the list. It is a bad list to be on. So try to make sure, double check, make sure you've done that. If you haven't, at NABOR, we're offering on December 7th, 1 to 4, a Zoom virtual ethics and business practices session. So join us. Number 2, for Downing-Frye Associates, annually, we arrange a fair housing update session, and we are at Downing-Frye totally committed to fair housing and to equity. And we encourage absolutely all of our folks to join us to hear the latest and greatest is going on nationally, statewide, and more importantly, in Collier County with the Florida Human Rights Commission. And number 3, business planning. No matter what brokerage you belong to, it is time to start your planning for 2022. We all hope it is going to be a great experience and year, but there is only one occupation that really goes into or starts working as really a professional without a business plan, and that's realtors. We know we need business plans. We start with goals and move on to a full-blown business plan. Everyone needs to do that. And at Downing-Frye in November and December, we have 2 sessions that really help our folks do that. If you are not a Downing-Frye realtor, join us or get your business planning done. There are lots of ways to do that. So those are the 3 reminders that we really want to highlight: ethics, fair housing, and business planning.
That's fantastic. And I know everyone thinks of this business planning and training for newbies, and if you're just getting your toe in the water, but I tell you what, we're all newbies going into this market, right? And
you bet.
And all benefit from some coaching and working with just someone who's got an outside perspective. But You know, another big topic that is hitting us all in Florida is insurance and flood insurance specifically. And thankfully, this hurricane season has been kind to us. But I think there are some issues that are changing and just guidelines that are changing and laws. And my gosh, how do we keep up with it all while we're watching our bills increase and go up and up and up, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Insurance is a biggie, and it is one of the top three worries I have for all of us in this occupational group, whether you are selling, buying, or whether you're a homeowner. Even if you're a renter, your business, the expenses of your owners will increase. If you belong to a community or whether HOA or condo association, those expenses with insurance may increase. So it will affect everyone. So we are very, very fortunate to have gotten the word out. We keep trying to get the word out, but there are a lot of question marks right now.
Absolutely. But fortunately, we've got an expert that's going to be joining us today. Miss Destiny Olmstead from Assured Partners has joined on as Downing-Frye's preferred insurance lender and or insurance, not lender, that's the wrong word, but insurance professional. Destiny Olmstead is a personal lines executive. And she is passionate about giving back to her community through organizations such as Junior Achievement and a participating board member on her local elementary school. She's an expert in personal lines and here to talk to us about FEMA and what's changing in the market. Please welcome Miss Destiny today. Thank you for joining us.
Of course. Thank you for having me.
Everyone agrees Destiny has the best name. Absolutely. For an insurance professional, don't you think?
Yeah, no, I mean, at least when I say I might get an occasional Bethany or Stephanie, but then when they realize it's Destiny, they're like, oh, okay. And no one ever forgets. And I get so many referrals off of it. So it's great. So I have quite the name to live up to, I guess.
Well, I'm a child of the 80s, so I'm hearing some women's empowerment music in the background.
Right?
Child.
I definitely have to live up to my name.
Absolutely.
So I see you had some questions here in regards to risk rating 2.0.
Yeah.
The first one was, when does it go into effect? Which we're already it's in effect. We're living it right now. October 1st, it did go into effect for new policy holders and any renewals up till April 1st. And then April 1st of 2022, everybody's subjected now to FEMA risk rating 2.0. And if most people, I assume, already know what it is, but if you're a little bit unfamiliar, it is the NFIP's way, which is National Flood Insurance Program. FEMA has decided that they needed to regulate their flood policies a little bit better. They've had the same rating in place since 1970s. So it's been quite some time, and it's always been a very structured, streamlined program. And now they've kind of took a step back and said, wait a second, we have so many different factors that go into why there's a flood risk rating and how the rate should be derived. And it can't just be this, one size fits all. We really need to start looking at all these different factors. And now we have the technology available to us to do so, because over the last, so many years, last 50 years, I should say, they've collected about 60 million in premium, but paid out about 96. So it needs to be a little bit more in tune with what the risk is per each individual to make sure that they're staying ahead of the game when it comes to paying out claims and making sure that, everyone benefits from the program as needed.
Everybody is sort of worried, Destiny.
Mm-hmm.
Have you heard of any prices for policies that have gone down?
I have. I'm speaking with a lot of counterparts too, some that are in
Okay.
Florida, some of my agents as well. Yes, some people have taken decreases. There's a percentage, if you look at FEMA's website, what they have stated is about 23% are going to have an immediate decrease of approximately $86 or more. Around that range per month. But then there's that 66% that is that is going to see between $0 and $10 per month increase. And then you kind of break it down into the 7s and the 4s where they're going to see greater than 10, and then 4% is going to see greater than 20% a month. So I have, in talking with agents, when they're quoting, seen premiums go down, but they still have a majority that are going up, but they're in that leveraged 0 to 10% per month range.
In our contracts, that Destiny,
Mhm.
both contracts that we use encourage or caution all buyers to get a quote from an insurance professional before they make an offer.
Yes.
And that is what our official company guideline is.
Mhm.
And I wonder if you can sort of speak to that. I know we've had, of course, we don't hear about the decreases,
Right.
definitely.
No,
No,
we
nobody
don't
calls.
either. No one ever pats us on the back for, finding them a decrease. They're just like, good, I guess I'll stay with you one
Yeah,
more
no,
time.
yeah. No one has ever called me to say, "Gosh, my fee decreased."
Right. Yeah, no,
I
it
get
doesn't
the
happen.
other phone calls,
Yeah.
um, but it's really a significant factor,
Mhm.
particularly for finance deals, which might affect the qualification for financing. Have
Yeah,
you found that to be an issue?
I do. I hear from a lot of my mortgage broker counterparts and lender friends that sometimes they fall into these issues where, everything's a go, and then the insured goes to the client in the case goes to shop for insurance, and it's, 4 times what they thought it would be, just due to several different factors. And especially in a state like Florida, it's so imperative that you work with an insurance professional. And, luckily us here at Assured Partners have a plethora of options for people to choose from. We're not a one-stop sole carrier shop. We are, the big name players, the A+ rated or better carriers is who we're going to look at. But it's so important to get those rates prior because, in some instances, those rates could be a significant part of what your mortgage is going to be, and sometimes could price people out of the possibility of maybe a specific home. So we really want to be able to work with the realtor, work with the mortgage lender, and find a solution. But sometimes, in some cases, that can take a little bit of time. So we really encourage that be done on the front end versus, having to scramble at the end and try to find a solution.
Great, great. Yeah, we're very, very concerned about that
Mhm.
because in the end, often when people are frustrated,
Mhm.
everyone is blamed, and that
Mhm.
means the realtors
Yes.
in this case, if we
Mhm.
don't do a really good job. Maybe could you speak a little bit to this notion of a glide path, because we've
Mhm.
cautioned those realtors working with sellers to do certain things, buyers to do other things.
Mhm.
But this whole glide path thing is, I think, really a little bit confusing for folks.
It, it's they want you to get from the seller of the property that if they have a current uh, property for flood in place, insurance in place, we want to get the documents because then when they're submitted to look at the quote for the new property owner, FEMA has stated that it's a bit more of a seamless process, and they'll go ahead and honor a lot of what was written on that policy and kind of move them into the new homeowner into that same policy, and they're not going to be subjected to some of these higher rates and increases. So they did put that in there where they're not after April 1st doing any type of grandfathered policy. They are allowing with the sale of a home and a new purchase, if there's already that flood insurance in place, to kind of move it along to the new buyer. But again, there's still the application process. There's still some things that need to be done. So we encourage that to be done as soon as possible versus, again, waiting till kind of the end of the deal and us having to, scramble or maybe, that's not in the best interest of the buyer.
Okay. Maybe, flood insurance, as you say, in Florida, it's a very big
Mhm.
deal, and it's not
Mhm.
necessarily that you're looking at the ocean
Mhm.
or anything like this,
Right.
whether or not the property, whether it's
Mhm.
required or whether you have to get a letter of map amendment or something else to,
Mhm.
to deal with that. But I think that realtors have for many years in Florida just gone silent on this.
Mhm.
And October 1st came. My concern was I'm always the canary in the coal mine. So
Mhm.
I'm always the good news person and keep saying, "Oh my gosh, do you know about this?"
Yeah.
And people are saying, maybe you should just be quiet. But we really can't be with this
No.
flood insurance. If it's required,
Mhm.
it's obviously by the lender. If it's required, it has to be done.
Right.
But does that affect in any way the regular rates for property insurance?
No, flood insurance and property insurance are separate since flood insurance is regulated. Again, you can purchase flood insurance privately still. It's all still regulated by FEMA. You don't have to go directly through like the NFIP, but it doesn't really have a big impact on what your homeowner's rate will be. But again, when we're looking at the purchase of a new home, it's important, especially if it's going to be required, to leverage those two premiums together, because again, that's going to be a big bulk of your insurance premium of what you're going to pay in addition to your mortgage and your taxes. So while one doesn't kind of play on the other, I mean, obviously there's not lenders out there that are going to allow a loan to go through and close without homeowners insurance. But one thing to do is if you have an elevation certificate, that's a big thing that will allow you to get a discount on the flood insurance. So we encourage everyone, again, if that's already, we have the certificate, provide that up front to the insurance provider, myself. That way we can, get the applicable discounts when it comes to finalizing the cost of the policy.
Okay. So if as a realtor in the field,
Mhm.
we had a buyer interested in a particular property,
Mhm.
the first step before the offer should be to get a quote on property
Mhm.
insurance and flood
Mhm.
insurance, particularly if there would be financing and leveraging.
Yes.
And is that something that is a pretty quick process, Destiny, or how would that work?
It is. What's nice is we have all the carriers kind of right at our fingertips. So if a buyer calls and would like a quote for a specific property they're looking at, we can typically turn the quotes around by the next day. So, and that's going through all of our carriers. That's not just saying, oh, well, I can get you one back tomorrow morning. If I collect the information, especially by even late afternoon, by the next day, I'll have the quotes back. Sometimes we get them back as quick as same day. It just really depends on all the analytics of the property and how quickly we can get the reports back. But we like to pride ourselves in saying if it's not same day, it's going to be the next day. We're going to have your options available.
Mhm.
Do you think it's reasonable? We at our company
Mhm.
anyway, we encourage all of our folks, all of our realtors working with buyers,
Mhm.
to get that quote before they make the offer, or
Mhm.
definitely while they still have a door out, so to speak,
Right.
of the contract. We
Mhm.
require our realtor, we require or suggest, I should say, recommend strongly
Mhm.
that if we're going to have a listing, that we
Mhm.
ask for the NFIP policy and
Mhm.
get everything ready,
Mhm.
not only the elevation certificate survey and so forth, but also the NFIP policy if there is one
Mhm.
on that property. Does that make sense, or is there anything that you would add to that as our insurance professional?
It really does. It makes sense to get all of those things up front. That way, again, when you're making a decision to purchase a property, at least if you haven't decided on a very specific carrier yet, the realm, the ballpark that the premiums are going to be. And again, once you're in our system, if the buyer says, we're not going to make an offer on this property, we're going to buy, property B down the street, everything's already in there. So then we can plug in property B's address and provide the quote. So again, being proactive is so important in this industry. And, while working with realtors and mortgage lenders and insurance professionals alike, because that's how the buyers make the most informed decision, and it seems to be the best process. It really, again, you can change your mind on a property, not a problem. We'll quote the new one. We get them back really quick, but it's the best thing for the buyer to get that information up front. And that way they look at everything as a whole, because again, insurance premiums for some homes can be, $1,000 or $2,000. For other homes, they could be 8 to 10. It just really depends on the property and what the specifics are.
Right. I think we had one example with one particular moderate property. The property insurance plus flood insurance would total $11,000 a year, and that was. I'm happy to say our person informed the customers of that, because that really is the customer's decision, and that's quite a bit of money. Let me ask Cindy, because she is. Not only our guru here, but also not a realtor. So is there anything that you think that we could clarify or maybe heighten the awareness of for the public, Cindy, in this regard?
The thing that occurs to me as a native Floridian, someone who's ridden through multiple hurricanes and who's been in homes that, water has never come into this home. Like the thing that's coming out to me is how do you educate me and get that seriousness here, and or what is that if I were to be selling my home and I want it to sell and I don't want to go through tying my house up with someone who's made an offer but can't afford that insurance premium, is there something I as a seller can do to prepare my home to help it move along faster with those insurance premiums?
Yeah, I think maybe, Destiny, if you want to talk about maybe a 4-point inspection or something like that for property insurance. I don't know about flood insurance, because Destiny would know better than I, but I do know there are some things you can do for property insurance fees or costs.
Right.
And I think that's an excellent question, particularly for sellers. And Floridians are wonderful folks, but they're also, I'm from New England, we think we know a lot about hurricanes too up there. And
Right.
until people are there, and then it's then someone goes out surfing. We live near the ocean, and they kept saying, we're not going out to get you if you get into trouble. And that still didn't keep people from going out saying, aren't the waves wonderful? It's you just shake your head. And but could we do anything? And I think that's a really great point with sellers.
Yeah, I think one of the biggest things as an insurance professional we look at, and I can vouch for our underwriters look at, is risk mitigation. So one of the biggest things I find in the state of Florida is wind mitigation reports. If you have a wind mitigation report on your home, it makes it such an easier process when moving through the insurance quotes and through the insurance process, because 9 times out of 10, we're going to ask for that with a majority of homes, because we want to know when it comes to, especially like a named peril storm, since those are typically different types of deductibles on a policy than just your traditional claims or, non-named perils. We want to know that wind mitigation, because that's going to be a big factor. So do you have hurricane shutters? The different ratings of water heaters lately. If a water heater is over 15 years old, a lot of insurance companies are going to say, we are not going to cover water until that's replaced. I actually sold a policy this week that they were moving into the property, and 2 days later, the water heater was being replaced. There's 2 on the property in a larger home. But then we can offer that water coverage. So making sure things as a seller are updated in your home. Again, if you have the wind mitigation report, it's provided immediately. That way, when shopping for quotes, we have the ability to just reference that. And then just little things like the water heater and the age, roof age. Again, those are things that if you're selling your home, you're probably not going to go throw a new roof on it right away, but they're going to be factors that we're going to need to know the age and when it was redone that are going to play into the buyer's insurance proposal.
Yeah. It's Cindy, what when I was listing and selling, which I don't do any longer, but when I did that, I always encouraged my sellers to have an inspection done at listing
Mhm. Mhm.
and take care of any issues, because we don't really know what's wrong with houses. I mean, I don't know
Yeah.
if all the electrical sockets work,
Mhm.
whatever. I don't even use some of them.
Mhm.
And I think, what Destiny is saying is looking at the big expanses, the roof, the garage door, the storm hardiness. All of
Mhm.
those are ways that we can make a home more attractive
Mhm.
and reduce the cost of insurance. And sellers aren't used to that almost.
Mhm.
Um, and Cindy is a native Floridian, so she's used to, as we all are used to, just we do what we do, you know. Um, but I've always found that to be a technique that has always really brought us great success, to
Mhm.
take care of any small issues. I wanted to ask Destiny, some of the condo associations here
Mhm.
have mandated that you must replace your water heater,
Mhm.
particularly condos that are multi levels,
Right.
every 7 years, which is the life expectancy, I guess.
Mhm.
And if you do not, they will and bill
Right.
you. And I think it's because of their insurance.
Mhm.
You could probably speak to that better than I, but it's so frustrating when you're on the first floor and there's a leak on the second floor.
And those things, and again, those are ways that HOAs and associations can mitigate the risk. And that kind of flows into when you think of the NFIP's new, risk rating. They're giving credits for community level mitigation, individual level mitigation. So right there, the HOA and the association is saying, you know what? We're going to get a increase or a decrease on our insurance premiums because we can hold our homeowners accountable to saying there's not a water heater in here over 7 years old. Because again, right, if 4 floors up, that water heater goes, it's not just the level below, it goes all the way down. Water damage is so big, even when you're not in a coastal state or a community, that all different types of water damage, especially from things like water heaters, occur. And we pay out a lot in claims. And again, those big buildings, it trickles down. So it's not just the first floor that's affected, it's everybody on the way down. So a lot of companies do offer the more improvements that you do, the more accountable you hold people to a standard, the better off your premiums are going to be.
I think the last question, I promise, is we had that terrible, terrible tragedy in Miami with the
Mhm.
collapse of that tower, which was just an horrific occurrence. But has that affected the sort of property insurance, particularly in
Um,
that type of structure, Destiny?
we haven't seen anything really roll out, I would say insurance wide, that is going back to that incident and saying, we're kind of tightening this up. I feel like insurance companies have always really held structural capabilities to a high regard, that they go in, and that's why we do a lot of inspections. People will say, oh, is somebody going to have to come out and look at my house? Yeah, majority of the time they do. Why? Because we're protecting all of our insureds by making sure that things we're covering, are structurally sound. And I'm sure that we're going to see, well, things don't usually happen immediately, over the next year or two, a bit more on the regulatory sides, when it comes to these type of inspections, digging a little bit deeper to make sure these things don't occur and to protect the insureds of each individual company.
Sure. Um, this has been very enlightening. I don't know, Cindy, if you had any other questions. I've written down Cindy's question because
Mhm.
she's my go-to sort of guinea pig type.
I'm the
Not
canary today.
Mhm.
just, but because I think sometimes an insurance professional, a realtor dealing with these kinds of things, we forget. I was a high school principal, and I used to say that when I was a high school principal to my teachers. Please remember, the parents of your students are not teachers. They
Right.
don't speak educationalese,
Mhm.
and they don't deal with. And I think it's the same thing with our sellers and buyers. We forget
Right.
that truthfully, they really, it's our obligation. Our obligation is
Mhm.
to give them the information, their obligations to make the decisions in an informed way. But we sometimes forget all these 9,000 new things that we have to kind of.
You know, and I'll just add in, when I bought my first home in Collier County, as we were shopping for Golden Gate Estates lots, the guidance I was given was look for cypress trees and pine trees. Cypress trees are bad, pine trees are good. And so when I bought my lot, right, it ended up having a ton of rock, and we had to bring in a bunch of extra fill because they couldn't drill down. And we were high and dry when it rained, but all those cypress tree lots were buried or water. So, you know, that mentality and that knowledge of being a local and knowing what to look out for in it, it's lost now because you've got so many new people coming in who don't understand, and they buy this incredible house and, you know, great lot in the estates, and they're like, well, look at those pretty cypress trees over there. And, you know, so it's really important to educate them all. And I appreciate you coming online, Destiny. It's been very informative, and Pat, thank you for including me in this today. But
Well, I think it's really an important issue, and I believe it's the realtor's obligation to have that knowledge and to pass on that knowledge. If the buyer says, okay, I understand, fine. And, you know, there's a lot to know. We have a 50 geographical areas for realtors here. And it's always surprising to me when someone purports to be an expert in every one of the 50. You know, that's kind of hard to do. And I'm from a New Englander. I built a house within walking distance to the ocean. There's nothing that's going to keep the ocean.
No, not at all. And that's the thing is that, and that's what I'm here for. And if I don't know the answer right away, I have, you know, a plethora of ways to get it. I can, you know, ask some counterparts, look it up. You know, we have our resources. And again, we always encourage people to reach out with questions. I'm more than happy to answer them. No questions silly, or, you know, it's my job. And I'm more than happy to, if we don't know the answer, figure it out. And even if clients have questions, I'm always available to answer them.
Great. I think from us as a company, recognizing all of these insurance changes and liabilities and, you know, all these kinds of things, we as a company made a determination that we really did need to have someone who had that information. So we're thankful that you are among us, Destiny.
Yeah.
And I always laugh because Destiny's name is just something I think is just so wonderful.
Thank you.
You know, but I think that overall, everyone working in this occupation needs to be aware of these sort of changes and whatever you want to call them. I think you have to have a go-to person to get that information so that you can provide it for your customers. And Cindy is our kind of our we ask Cindy many times because she delivers. She can give to us kind of an outsider's view, which is wonderful for us to be able to have.
So, ladies, today's session, today's video is going to be posted on the Downing-Frye YouTube page. We're gonna share it on Downing-Frye.com, so that anyone who didn't get a chance to see it today can rewatch it later. So we just invite you to check out the blog posts on Downing-Frye.com. Destiny is going to become one of our regular contributors. And I would encourage you to watch for the weekly DF Agents e-newsletter that comes out, because Destiny's articles will be featured in there. And I think she's going to get recruited for some training sessions in the new year. So
that works. That's not a problem. I'm happy to do it.
The head corporate trainer is right on top of everything.
I'll be looking out for those emails and put them on my calendar.
But it's really helpful. We do appreciate that.
Yes, absolutely. Not a problem. I'm happy to do it.
All right, ladies. Well, thank you so much for your time. And we'll just say goodbye, farewell to everyone. And we'll see you next time.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us for this episode of Ask Pat. You can learn more at Downing-Frye.com and make sure to follow us on Facebook and LinkedIn.